Welcome to the session about coaching models for technical agile coaching. What a topic, and thanks to you for joining this rather special topic session, coaching. Who considers himself or herself a coach? Only one. Okay, that's interesting. What about Agile? Who does Agile software development, or at least thinks so? 2/3, nearly everyone. That's great. And now let's turn it around. I think you're all technical people like coding day to day. Who does not code anymore? Half a person. Okay, so that's expected and that's great because this session is for you. Who should care about this topic about technical coaching, technical agile coaching? Well, who of you accompanies teams as a senior developer or tech lead or architect? This is kind of coaching as well, yeah? Some of you are in that role. Or who commissions support for the teams as a tech lead or as a project lead? Any project leads or team leads here? Maybe you want to know what you're commissioning, what you're buying for your company. So this talk is for you, and many of us should actually care. Let me give you a quick summary of this talk, and then you can decide if you like to stay here or not. What's this talk about? If we want to drive change in our company, and technical coaching is about change, we should better understand the current state of our teams, of our technological systems, and we should have a better understanding what bringing change to our system means, what the consequences of change are. Because we don't want coaching to make things worse. I don't know if you ever encountered that situation. You call in a consultant or a coach, and afterwards it's way worse than before. We don't want that. And that's the same in technical agile coaching as in agile coaching and coaching as well. And models can help us with not coaching things into failure. So what you're going to see in the next 45 minutes, 43 minutes, what is coaching in general and what are coaching models? And it's a bit of theory about general coaching. Then the difference between agile coaching and technical agile coaching. And then the largest block, we'll have a look at coaching models for technical agile coaching. And here you see the Slido QR code, and hopefully we'll find some time at the end for your questions. I'm Thomas. I am a technical agile coach working for Techniker Krankenkasse in Hamburg. And as we're celebrating 30 years of Java here at JCon, my Java journey started in February 1996, I think. So I'm in my 30th year of Java, and that's been quite a journey, and I still try to get my hands on all the new features with the latest Java versions. That's really cool, and I really like to code even today. But today in this talk, I'm not going to code, unfortunately, but the topic of today's session is important as well. Coaching. What is it? Coaching is a professional process for personal or career development or growth through questions, feedback, and support. Questions, feedback, and support, that seems doable, but humans are involved. Large technological systems are involved, and that can become quite complex. It is complex, it can become quite complex, and that isn't easy for you as a coach. So, what can help us? Let's have a look at models. What are models? Models are simplified representations or concepts that help us understand, explain, or manage complex situations or phenomena. Great. So let's use models and we can manage complexity. But maybe you know this famous quote by George Box, all models are wrong, but some are useful. And I really like that quote, but it's not what George Box actually said. It's a simplification of what he said. So let's have a look at what he really said. He said, remember that all models are wrong. They are inherently wrong because models are simplifications. They are wrong by definition. Models are models. They are wrong. They're simplifications. The practical question is, how wrong do they have to be to not be useful? So how much error do we tolerate in any given context? And that decides if the model is valuable to us. And that turns the phrase around. It says nearly all models are useful in some contexts. And I like that even more, because it means we can have many, many models that are helpful in certain situations. Now, how do models help us? Let's say we have a model and it generates some hypotheses, some theories. You get some ideas what the model means, and then they are validated through experiments. You imagine some things, how you can validate the model. And the experiments, they fail or they succeed, and your model is developed further by these experiments, by the result of these experiments. And this is a feedback loop, how models come into existence and are refined. Now, experiment sounds like some chemistry putting things together, but an experiment can be a systematic observation, or what we call in coaching an intervention, a trigger, a change into a system, so that the system changes and we can observe the change. Often you start pragmatic with the observation. It's like you probably know Newton's mechanics, and it probably wasn't that way that Newton said, oh, let's invent my mechanics. He observed nature, and legend has it that he saw the apple fall from the tree and developed his Newton mechanics, but he did some observations, developed a model and refined it through experiments. This is valuable, but you shouldn't start with interventions, because if you change the system and you don't have a clue what the change in behavior actually means, because you don't have a model, it's hard to decide whether the change was good or not. So start with experiments, start with observations, and refine your models. And this enables deliberate actions instead of just acting by gut feeling, what some people maybe do. Oh, let's try this, and oh, it didn't work. No, do deliberate action based on models. Let's have a look at some common coaching models, and these are not technical models, but models from team coaching. This is an incomplete selection by myself, because I find some of the models helpful, and we'll have a look at, say, 3 of the models for you to get an idea what models are and how they function, how they work. And let's start with a simple one. It's called Riemann-Thomann. It's very famous in the German-speaking countries. And the idea behind this model is that human individuals, have desires and fears on 2 dimensions. And you all probably have observed this. There are people who need steadiness, who dislike change. They want things not to change for years. And other people need change. They are bored if things stay the same for a week or so. And then we have people who need closeness, who need people around them in their team to be happy at work. And then we need people who need distance, who don't like people. You know this. Hey, I've become a programmer to code. And what about the people around me? I've become a programmer to not work with people. And if you put some human being, a distant human being, into a team, they won't like it. So now, not all people will be either or. They will have a range of desires and fears. But we can assess the range, what's our comfort zone? And that can give you a better understanding for conflicts in your team. If you put the wrong people together, or if you give the wrong tasks or the wrong way of working to certain people. Remember, this is a simplification. We're putting people into boxes. We're putting them heavily into boxes. It's a model, but maybe it's useful in certain contexts. Second example, SCARF, the SCARF model. It's an acronym of status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And the idea behind this model is that people are attracted by rewards and they avoid threats. So if someone threatens their status, they will go away from it. And this can help you better understand human behavior in change processes. If you want to change certain things and the people, the teams don't follow the change or don't follow you, maybe this model can explain this a little bit more. Imagine a Java and JSF specialist who's been that for years, and now the front end is being rewritten in TypeScript and React. What does it mean to that Java and JSF specialist? He or she loses the status, the certainty. They know nothing about TypeScript and React probably. They cannot relate, say, to TypeScript, as other people cannot relate to Java. So this model explains how people react to change that you give to them. And then the third model, maybe that's the best known one, it's Tuckman's stages of group development. And the idea is that teams go through some phases or stages of team development, not necessarily in linear order. That's the greatest criticism of this model. But there are some stages like forming. The team just joined. It's a fresh and new team. They just found together. Then there's the storming stage where they challenge each other. Who's the informal boss? Who's just a follower? Who's the silent one? Who's the louder one? It's the storming phase. Then there's norming, where the team decides what conventions they're going to use to actually be working together. And then they're in the performing stage, where they can do, as a performing team, where they can do the work. And if you join as a coach, it's really interesting to see where the team currently is, because if they're in the storming phase and you give them technical change, even more change, they will send you away. They've got enough to do with themselves, and you probably cannot bring change, technical change, into the system. It's better to help the team come to the norming or performing phase before you bring in any other change. And the usual goal of coaching is to bring the team into the performing stage. And you can ask as a coach what's needed to get there, and can the team ever get there because there's the adjourning stage. Say the purpose of the team has gone, the product is finished, then the team is adjourning. It disassembles, and they won't be performing anymore. So no use of coaching, say. And this helps you understand the behavior of a team if you join as a coach, as a technical coach, as a team lead, as a tech lead, as an architect. These models are for coaching, for team coaching in general, and they are really useful for agile coaching, and maybe you've experienced an agile coach using such models. But what about technical agile coaching? What models do we use there? Before delving into that, let's have a look what agile coaching is about to differentiate it from technical agile coaching. Agile coaching, at least in software development, is based on this thing, the Agile Manifesto. More correctly, the Manifesto for Software Development. That's been lost, this idea, in the last few years, I think. And if you do software development and want to be agile, you need some ingredients, some necessary ingredients, and the principles behind the manifesto tell you what you need for successful agile software development. So if we do agile coaching for software development, we can ask which stances should an agile coach be able to adopt. And there's a model for this. And the model is called the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel, based on the former model, the Agile Coaching Competencies model. And it says there are 9 areas of competencies, of skills, like the traditional coaching. You know everything, I just have to ask you the right way, and then you find everything yourself. Over to facilitating, training, advising, leading, technical leading, being an agile or lean practitioner of software development, different stances of a coach which you need as competencies to be able to coach teams for agile software development. Unfortunately, agile coaching is often limited to a selection of these skills, and it becomes really problematic if it's only coaching. Coaching is really valuable, don't get me wrong, but it's only one of 8 stances and 9 competency areas of agile coaching. So if you limit this to coaching only, you miss a lot that's necessary for software development. Bob Gale wrote a book about this some years ago. If you want to become a better Agile coach, read Badass Agile, Extraordinarily Badass Agile Coaching. There he talks about balancing the skills in this wheel. What about technical Agile coaching? Technical Agile coaching needs the balance as well. We need all the skills and competencies, also the coaching, but we try to strengthen the competencies that are imbalanced in the usual Agile coaching. But it can be problematic as well if you only limit it to advising. Maybe you know this, you call in a consultant, an advisor, and he says, do this, do that, and then the consultant leaves, and the team drops all the ideas and goes back to their old behaviors. So if you do technical Agile coaching, don't limit it to one of the skills. Which skills do you need as a technical Agile coach? Which competencies are important? And let's start again with the Agile Manifesto, because all the skills that we need are rooted in there or in the practices that led to the manifesto, namely the extreme programming practices. And some say technical Agile coaching is all about extreme programming practices like refactoring, TDD, software crafting, pair programming, or ensemble programming, team programming, and so on. So we know what to do in technical Agile coaching for 25 years now. And it's more or less technical excellence. So you can say technical Agile coaching is coaching teams towards technical excellence. And that differs from traditional coaching. As it's said in the preamble of the Agile Manifesto, we do technical Agile coaching by doing software development and helping others do software development. So we're kind of embedded coaches close to the team. Traditional coaches try to distance themselves from the teams, from the system, and we are much closer to the team and help them doing these things by being able to do them ourselves. And it's hard to do this without models. So as technical Agile coaches, we need models as well. And I've collected some for you, and let's have a look at those hopefully beautiful visualizations. The first one, it's about communication, daily stand-up meeting. Who of you does daily stand-up meetings? Almost all? Okay, then you know this. Yeah, you assemble each morning together, and everyone says, yesterday I did this, today I will do this, I've got some blockers and I might need some help. We call this walk the people. We go through all the people. And it has some disadvantages because there are repetitions, at least in my observations, people saying the same things over and over again. Or you don't get the context because there's so much context ping pong. The first developer says about ticket A, the second about ticket B, and the third one again about ticket A. So there's context ping pong, and it's hard to follow what actually has been done and what we need to be working today. But there's an advantage. Everyone gets a turn. Everyone gets to say something each morning, and that's valuable. The other model is if we assemble in front of our board, like a Kanban board, and we try to finish the work in progress. So we ask from right to left and top to bottom, what and who do we need to complete this task today, or as quickly as possible? And then the second task, work in progress, what do we need, what and whom do we need to get this one finished? We call this walk the work or walk the board, and it's got an advantage. It focuses on finishing the work in progress. We don't start new work until the work in progress is finished. But it's got a disadvantage. What about the quieter ones? If you observe teams, you've got some loud ones who always say something about the tickets and other ones who stay quiet. And now you're the coach and you're being asked which is better. And of course it depends, because what does the team need right now? Is it mature enough that we can do walk the work and nonetheless everyone will get their turn and talk about the tickets? Or does this team need to learn about communication, and walk the people might be the right thing? What kind of collaboration is desired, and does it fit to the tasks that the team has to do? So You cannot say which is better. You have to watch, you have to observe, and then build some theories, some hypotheses, and see if it works out. Wait, this is technical coaching. This is the things that our Agile coaches do or are supposed to do. It is technical coaching or the foundation for technical coaching, because it is about collaboration, and we're observing teams, how they communicate, how they decide things, how they organize their work, and how they live as people together at work. And when you want to bring technical change into a system, into teams, and they get the communication thing wrong, you can do whatever you want, your change will not succeed. So this is the basis, the foundation for technical coaching. Okay, but please a little bit more technical. All right, let's have a consultant, and she says, do TDD and your code will be better. Okay, maybe, but is there a model for this? Well, you might know test-driven development. And the idea behind this, test-driven development has been written about ages, decades ago. And the idea behind test-driven development is that we describe the code usage first in an executable form. That's why we want to write the tests first. We've got the executable usage of the code that's being implemented. And the theory, the hypothesis is that more appropriate code is written, more appropriate to the business, to the solution, and it's better maintainable and better testable code. That's a theory. And the model behind this, you probably all know, it's called red-green refactor. We write a new test for a new behavior. This test will be read first. Then we implement the main code until the test is green. And then we do some refactoring to improve the structure of the code to be able to implement the next change. The important step is the refactoring, the cleaning up the structure. Otherwise, it's not the test-driven design model that's being followed. And as a consultant, I would say do so. As a coach, I have a look at, does the model have the desired consequences? Does the code really become more maintainable and more testable? And if not, I can have a look why. For example, because the refactoring isn't done the right way. But I don't judge, just do TDD and you can't do it, you're stupid. No, I have a theory and I observe the team if the change has the desired effect. This is a really cool model, I like it. But it works in a certain context. And what about legacy code? Is it a good model for legacy code? There's been a book written 20 years ago by Michael Feathers, Working Effectively with Legacy Code. And he's got a different model for legacy code. And the idea is differently. The idea is we test existing behavior as correct to create a safety net. And the theory is that suddenly safe changes and improvements are possible. So we can change our system. And the model is differently. This is only one of various models. I personally like this one best. It's green, red, green refactor. And the green here means something different, the first green. It's more about thinking. It's not about coding, it's about thinking. The first green means we assume the untested code is correct. It's been correct for 10 years. So we shouldn't just test it as correct. And then we write a test, which we call an approval test. We approve the existing behavior. And this one will be read first. So we get the input wrong, we get the output wrong, and the next green is to make the approval test green. And then we can do changes and refactorings to the implementation. And the most important step here is to get the approval test green without changing the implementation, because we want to have a safety net. And again, as a consultant, I would say just do so in legacy code. As a coach, I try to observe if this model really leads to safe changes and safe improvements, or if not, why? If maybe the team doesn't work as expected. Okay, next model. Again, our consultant comes to you and says, write lots of unit tests. We've done this successfully in our last project, so please write lots of unit tests. And if you don't, well, the traditional test pyramid comes into mind. If you know some of my talks, the next visualizations might seem familiar to you, but we're going to ask different questions. The traditional testing pyramid was described by Mike Cohn in 2009, and it's about a lot of fast unit tests at the bottom. That's the number of unit tests. Then fewer integration or service tests, and only few end-to-end tests triggered by the UI. And of course, we will have manual exploratory tests. And that's a good model, but it's got some assumptions. Some assumption is the stability of the tests decrease. Unit tests are stable, and end-to-end tests are rather fragile. In my observation, in some systems, that's true. And the other assumption is that execution time increases. Unit tests are fast, and end-to-end tests are rather slow. Maybe a correct assumption in some systems. The question is, are these assumptions still valid in our current system? Maybe this was an architecture 20 years old. What about our current architectures? Do these assumptions still hold? And there's another dimension of test scope. Unit tests cover only a tiny scope of our domain logic, of our business logic. End-to-end tests cover a broad range of our business logic. So how do we deal with the tension between the number of tests and the test scope? This is hard to answer, but we can lead to teams to answer the questions if we ask them those questions. We don't need to solve them ourselves, but we can ask the teams how they would solve them. So this pyramid is meaningful in some context. Let's see what other test pyramids we have in which contexts. Before we had the test pyramid, we had the test lollipop with no test automation at all and lots of manual testing. Then we had the ice cream cone with automated testing heavily on the upper levels, mostly UI automated tests and manual tests. But in today's architectures, we maybe have the test house with a lot more integration or service tests, or even the test diamond or test honeycomb, where we have more service tests, more integration tests than unit tests. And the questions that those models ask is, what can be tested quickly and reliably as possible? And in a traditional monolith, the traditional test pyramid might make the most sense because unit tests are the only quick and reliable tests. All the other tests might be rather fragile. If we go into monoliths or self-contained systems, the other models might make more sense. Think of Spring Monolith, where we can test each module separately, or self-contained systems that you design separately. And if we go into microservices, we might even go more into the service and integration testing because our microservices are small and the tests are faster. Still, all these tests are linked, or these test models are linked to the test levels. This is why I came up with another model, and other people as well. I wasn't the first one to think about the test speed pyramid, but it helped me thinking differently about tests. Like have a lot of fast tests at the bottom, then we have fast enough tests, which might be pretty good. Then we have slow tests, which are still okay, and we have too slow tests, which we don't want. And this helps us with observing the behavior of a system. It doesn't tell us how to test or where to test, it just helps us observe the behavior of a system, and then we can take deliberate action. The question is it a desirable goal just to have as many fast tests as possible? Yeah, like the test pyramid with many unit tests, or maybe this one with have lots of fast tests suggests. And this is why I came up with my current version, or with a current thinking model, which helps me currently best assess a test situation, and I call this the safety net matrix. If you have a better name, let me know. And the idea is that we have 2 dimensions. One dimension is the test speed of stable tests. If they aren't stable, you should fix them or delete them. We need stable tests, then speed makes sense. And then we have the test scope from narrow to broad. And the idea is that 2 slow tests with a narrow test scope, they don't make any sense. They just cost us money without giving us any security. The 2 slow tests with medium coverage or slow tests with narrow coverage are probably not that much better. But then it becomes interesting. The 2 slow tests with a broad test scope might be the perfect first iteration for a safety net for certain legacy applications that aren't under test yet. Slow and medium coverage might be in this category as well, or fast enough and narrow testing. So this might be a perfect first step to bring systems under test that haven't been under test before. Then we'll get into greener colors. Slow tests with a broad test scope. Yeah, that's desirable. Or fast tests with a narrow scope. You know them. These are the unit tests that we usually write. Really fast, but really narrow test scope. And then we get fast enough tests with medium test scope. And fast enough tests with a broad scope. This might be the self-contained systems. If you develop self-contained systems, these might be the perfect tests for them, or fast tests with medium scope. Like if you say you have an inside-outside architecture like onion or hexagonal or ports and adapters, then you've got your business logic inside the core and you can test it really fast, although you've got only medium coverage. You don't test the external dependencies. Yeah, this might be the desired cell for those systems. And then we've got the perfect solution of fast tests with broad test scope, but what about the cost? What about the return on investment? In my experience, this upper right cell is really cost intensive, and the question is, does it help you that much? So maybe this model can help us think in the cells that help us most without costing too much. And we can ask teams questions and lead them into these directions. So this is my current thinking model for which tests to write. And let's see what model I'll be using next year. Help me improve it. And if you say, okay, we're in the bottom left corner, our system is untestable, we have to rewrite the whole system from scratch. Let me show you a model for the limits for change. We're getting a little bit less technical now, but nonetheless important. If you want to bring change into a system, into a team, be aware what the team can actually change. What's in the circle of control for the team or for the people that you coach? What can this team actually change? Or what can they at least influence in their circle of influence? Whom do they need to involve as a sponsor to foster the change? Because there's always the circle of concern around you, all the things that concern you, but that you can't change a little bit. All the decisions from the upper hierarchy which you can change, which you can't influence. And if you target your change in the circle of concern, you'll earn lots of frustration because you spend lots of energy there, lots of discussions there, but you can't change anything. Your change attempts have no effect, and that's when you leave as a coach, when you leave a team as a coach, more frustrated than before because you ask them the wrong questions in the wrong circle. See that you help teams in the circle of control, or if you see that they're discussing things endlessly in the other circles, lead them to the circle of control. Okay, and then you've got this developer who says, how am I gonna ever learn all this? Java 25 and React and TypeScript and everything. That's far too much for me. How will I ever learn all this? There are models for stages of learning and competence. And I've brought here one of many, many models. It's the 4 stages of competence. On the bottom, it's the unconscious incompetence. Someone doesn't know that he's incompetent. He's got the wrong intuition. Then we've got the conscious incompetence. I know that I don't know something, and I will do the wrong analysis. I know that I have to learn. Then I have a conscious competence. I read lots of books, I have the knowledge, and I will do the right analysis. And the top stage is unconscious competence. I have the right intuition. I don't need any books anymore. What I do is correct or is good, and all my fellow colleagues say, how do you do this? You have the right decisions, you do the right things without ever looking into books, and that's unconscious competence. And you all know colleagues who are either unconscious incompetent or unconscious competent or somewhere in between. And for you as a coach, it's important to have a guess where each person is right now and in which topic, because every one of us is competent in one or the other area and incompetent in another area. And being aware of that helps you coach people, helps you people at getting better. And this model of unconscious competence and so on has another model in software development that maybe you know. It's called Shuhari. Who has ever heard of Shuhari? Only a few of you. Okay. Shuhari is from martial arts, from the Asian martial arts, and it's been brought to software development by Alistair Cockburn. You might know him from hexagonal architecture and from the Agile Manifesto. And the idea is that the people in the shoe stage, they have to follow the rules. They don't know what to do. They need clear rules to be able to work. They need rules, and they must follow the rules again and again. That's where we have some katas to practice the rules. In the Ha stage, you deliberately break the rules, or hopefully deliberately, and you can decide what these changes affect. So if you break the rules and there are changes in the behavior or in the system, you get an idea why this changed, because you broke the rules deliberately. And in the Re stage, you don't need rules anymore. You transcend the rules. That means you work perfectly you work like a master, but you don't need to read books in between. You just do what's right. This is the unconscious competence that we saw before. And you have those colleagues that you say that just work in the Re stage and they can't explain why they can do all the things because they practiced a lot over the last few years. For you as a coach, the interesting question is, which stance is appropriate? Which coaching stance is appropriate? Is it coaching, the traditional coaching? I ask you questions and you yourself know best what to do. You can't do coaching for a learner, for someone in the shoe stage. Or is it mentoring? We can do mentoring for the people on their journey. The people in the shoe stage, they need training. They need to learn the basics. Otherwise, they are lost. So as a technical coach, as a coach in general, you have to be aware which stance is appropriate for each person. Which training do they need? And this is another model in software development, which you know. It's apprentice, journeyman, master. And as we're here in a cinema, and actually I haven't been able to get some of the Star Wars badges. There were Star Trek and Stargate, but I'm from the Star Wars group. Didn't get any badge. Anyway, so here's Master Yoda, and this apprentice journeyman master is from the software crafting movement, or software craftsmanship as it was called before. And this is stages of training, stages of learning. And in the apprenticeship, the people need training, they need education, and we can't leave them alone. We have to give them a learning path. And as a technical coach, you should assess what skills they have to learn, like identifying and removing code smells, getting better at refactoring, and so on. And this is again where katas exercises can help, and you as a technical coach can select the suitable katas. And so on. There are lots of models like technical debt, branching, collaboration, architectural models. And there is always the question, is it just questions you ask, or is it already a model? But then again, remember the start. If it helps us observe a situation and do deliberate actions in this situation, I don't care if it's a model or just good questions. It helps us doing the right things. But wait, isn't this just good architectural work? I'm an architect and this is what I'm doing from day to day. Isn't this good technical leadership? Yes, it is. And if you remember, if you consider someone a good architect or a good tech lead, what they do is usually more than just gut feeling. They usually decide, they do deliberate actions. They decide something more deliberate than just by gut feeling. And unconscious or consciously, they will be using some models in their mind for their decisions. And this is why these ideas are valuable for many of you. Being a senior developer, any developer at all, a tech lead, an architect. You don't need to be a coach, but it will help you. Okay, we've got, I think, 4 minutes or 5 minutes left. If you've been expecting something completely different about the structure of the coachings that we do, I've got something for you, because in the last minutes we've seen models for team dynamics, team phases, quality models, state models, but there are also models for coaching processes, sometimes called a structured approach. And the first, I'll show you 3 structures. The first one is a technical team coaching that I've been doing for 14 years, I think, now. We start with a kickoff where I get an idea about the expectations of the team. Then we'll do 1 or 2 weeks of team coaching. We have a reflection in between, like what did we do the last 2 weeks? What are we going to do in the next 2 weeks? Then we have another 1 or 2 weeks of coaching and a conclusion, like a reflection about the coaching and next steps that the team defines for itself. And as you might guess from the indentation, the second part can be optional depending on the time that a client is willing to spend. The coach collaborates here. The whole time the coach codes together with a team, or most of the time, and the coach observes and reflects, say in the first hour of the day or in the last hour of the day. And usually we do this using pair programming and team programming, mob programming, ensemble programming, because this way we get a way better idea of what the team is actually doing. If I stay away from the team, I don't get to know them really well. If I code with them together, after 1 week, I know them pretty good. So we do the coaching on the normal team activities, on the normal team tasks, and we use code katas, exercises, only when necessary. Remember to get a coaching agreement. This is important for all the coaching structures that you'll see. You need to know who is your sponsor, who gives you the money. This usually won't be the team, but it maybe is like the team lead or the owner of the company, and ask him or her what makes the coaching a success. This might be different from what the team expects as a success, but ask your sponsor, what's the coaching success for you? And you can do a reflection with the sponsor at the end. Second structured approach, team programming workshops. We do them for team programming, to learn team programming. We'll do some expectations and show some slides about the basics of team programming. Then we'll do, say, 2 hours of team programming with a code cutter, have a mini retro, about 10 minutes, and then another team programming with the same cutter going on, or another cutter, and a conclusion like before, but all this in a day or in 2 half days, and usually we make this on site. The team dynamics is far better on site, but we also practice remote tools. For example, in the second part, that the team is able to use the remote tools once they're in their home offices again. And the second workshop is about coding skills, like learning clean coding. We do some theory, like what about the Boolean conditions? How do we get rid of them? How do we combine them? And then we'll do a joint practice, team programming with a prepared code cutter, do a mini retro, and in the afternoon, the team goes to their production code and applies the things that they learned in the morning. And remember to get a coaching agreement. And the last one, and I think I'll be 1 or 2 minutes over time, is about Saman coaching, about scaling learning. Saman is Swedish for together, written about in the book Technical Agile Coaching with a Saman Method by Emily Bage. And she describes this structure. We do a kickoff workshop to get to know the team, what technology are they using. Then we do a chartering workshop, what will the coaching be about, and the team can decide for or against the coaching. They can decline the coaching, but if they decide for the coaching, we'll talk about the topics covered, and then we'll do a learning hour, 1 hour of learning with a prepared code cutter, and 2 hours of ensemble working, team programming, on their own code with a thing that they learned in the learning hour. And that we repeat 9 times. And the 10th time, we'll do, instead of the learning hour, an inspirational demo by the technical coach to give inspiration after the coaching course. And this may be a video if there's no technical coach available. And Emily has collected lots of learning hours in her free catalog and also published some videos. And also here it's important to get a coaching agreement for this pretty long team coaching. Okay, now we've seen quite a lot of models for technical agile coaching. What's in common is they help you understand people, technology, and their context, and help you to act only then with deliberate actions. And that's not only about technical coaching, but about supporting teams as a tech lead, as an architect as well. Thank you. Thanks for listening, and I don't know if we've got time for a question. If there is any question, no, the next talk will come up. So if you've got any questions, find me outside. Thanks for listening.